In the previous program, the Venerable Ananda Maithree discussed the uniqueness of Buddhism vis-a-vis other religions. Today I'll ask him some specific questions regarding the Buddha's teachings. Again, I'd like to welcome Venerable Ananda Maithree, and I'll start right in with part 2, the teachings of Buddhism. Bhante, Christians and Jews have the Bible, and other religions have their own scriptures. Westerners who are somewhat familiar with Eastern culture have heard of texts such as the Hindu Bhagavad Gita, the Taoist Tao Te Ching, and perhaps the Buddhist Dhammapada. Is this last one the main Buddhist source, and are there many others?
Well, Dhammapada is only an epitome of Buddhist teachings. But it contains the essence of Buddhist teachings. The Lord Buddha, he preached for about 45 years. So, it should require to hold all Buddhist teachings. It should require so many books, so many collections of books. But his disciples selected the most important teachings of the Buddha, and they arranged them into 3 groups and kept under 3 names: Sutta Pitaka, Abhidhamma Pitaka, and Vinaya Pitaka. Sutta Pitaka means basket of sermons. That's the literal meaning of the word. In this group, or in this collection, there are teachings of the Buddha, advices to laymen with regard to the correct way of living their life, their duties towards their families, towards their friends, towards their teachers, towards their parents, towards their children and wife, towards their other neighbors, and so on. All these things. And in some places you find some advices to rulers, kings, how to look out for their country, how to govern their country. Such teachings also you find there. And at the same time, there were some discourses, some discussions which were held by some other teachers with the Buddha. In these discussions you find so much philosophy, the ways of other religions' teachers, and Buddha's answer to them, Buddha's views about other teachers' views, and such things you find in some suttas. Meanwhile, there is the Buddhist philosophy to a great extent, and the practical side of life, how to live a life, how to develop oneself, how to practice concentration, right concentration, how to avoid all evils, all those things which are necessary for a man to know if he wants to develop himself. All these things are found in this Sutta Pitaka. And in Abhidhamma Pitaka, you find the philosophical side of Buddha's teachings. It is a kind of analysis of Buddha's teachings in a philosophical way. It contains so many details about the inner side of life, and at the same time, the methods how to develop yourself, how to analyze man's life, psychology and physiology, Buddhist psychology and Buddhist physiology, and all those things, together with how to put this knowledge of life to be practiced, to practice this knowledge. It is not mere philosophy, it is the practical philosophy. It is given in Abhidhamma Pitaka. Abhidhamma means higher doctrine. And the other one is Vinaya Pitaka. Vinaya means discipline. There were so many disciples of the Buddha. For their upkeepment, to continue their life with self-respect and to live their life in a useful way, to be useful to the world, to keep concordance among them. For all these things Buddha passed so many rules. At the same time, the Buddha's disciples, to live among people, to move among people, they have to keep to the ways of life to a great extent. Some etiquettes. So, Buddha passed some rules as etiquette rules. Otherwise, they would be disrespected and disregarded by other people. So you have to live to a great extent, or you have to be in line with their ways. So Buddha passed so many rules to keep his disciples in the line with the ways of the people at the time, especially to take them to a high level of culture. So Buddha passed many rules. All these rules are collected together into a form of book which we call Vinaya Pitaka, the basket of disciplinary rules. So all these three collections require, they have so many books. More than 30 books, nearly 30 books altogether, much bigger than Christian Bible even. Among them, Dhammapada is a very small booklet or a small collection of Buddha's teachings, but it contains the essence of Buddha's teaching. Yes.
I see. Now, the collection certainly seems vast. Can you summarize the whole of the Buddha's teachings in his own words?
Well, his own words. According to our understanding, Buddha spoke in the language of Magadhi language. So, if I use his own words, I may recite a verse given by the Buddha. Sabba papasa akarana kusalasa upasampada sachitta pariyodapana etang buddhanusasana. This means sabba papasa akarana, shun all evils, kusalasa upasampada, do good deeds, sachitta pariyodapana, purify your heart, etang buddhanusasana. This is the teaching of all the Buddhas. So this is the essence of the Lord Buddha's teachings. That means don't do evil deeds, do good deeds, and try to purify your heart, purify your mind, cleanse your mind. This is the essence, the digest of all the Buddha, the teachings of all the Buddhas.
I see. Can you explain in a little more detail how this can lead to one's salvation?
Well, according to the teachings of the Buddha, Even though we use these words in English as sin or evil, from Buddha's point of view, we have to call them human weaknesses. Though we use the term evil, otherwise people can't understand us. Actually, they are not sins or evils, though we call it evils. They are weaknesses of man's mind, unwholesome states of mind. For example, anger, a human weakness. Greediness, selfish greediness, a human weakness. Pride, a human weakness. Jealousy, a weakness. All these are human weaknesses from the Buddha's point of view. So when they are put to practice, in other words, if a man translates his jealousy into practice, he may do some wrong deeds, harmful to others. Then we may call it evils. Those are all human weaknesses put to practice or put into action. So, the Lord Buddha asks us to abstain from all these wrong ways, unwholesome states, to get rid of all these bad ways, to overcome these temptations, to overcome anger, not to escape anger. Boldly you have to face all these things, all these weaknesses. You must try to understand them. You have to understand these weaknesses as weakness. Then you can easily remove them. You can avoid them. You can overcome them. He has given ways to overcome all these things. He said, Akodhena jine kodam. Conquer anger by non-anger, by kindness, by kind ways. Conquer miserliness or stinginess by practice of generosity. And so on. Lord Buddha has given the way to remove all weaknesses for a beginner. That is the Buddhist practice. By means of this Buddhist practice, one can shun all the so-called evils or all unwholesome ways of man, wrong ways of man. That is what we mean by shun evil. The other thing, do good deeds. There are so many duties, so many good deeds we have to perform, we have to fulfill. You have to help the poor. You have to help the needy. You have to help your relatives according to your possibility, your strength. You have to look after your parents. You have to look after your wife and children. You have to regard the holy persons, the religious persons, because they are practicing virtues. Such virtuous persons are to be regarded by laymen. And so many duties you have to do. You have to perform towards the people with whom you are associating. So, when you do these things, actually, you have a kind of pure heart within you. With pure heart you do all these things. With impure heart you can't do any good deed. From good motive, with good intention, you have to do all these things. Everything depends on your motive, your intention. So, with good motive, unselfish motive, if you pay your respect to your parents and treat other people, these are good deeds. Practice of generosity, practice of meditation, practice of loving kindness, helping the poor, helping other people who are in need of some help. all these things. There are so many good deeds. In brief, the Lord Buddha has divided into 10 groups called 10 meritorious deeds. Do these meritorious deeds. When you perform these things, naturally you become pure. You live a morally good life. These are called doing good deeds. In brief, live a morally good life and do your things with good intention, from good motive. Do help to others. In a certain Buddhist book, it is said, if you help the world, help the needy, you are adoring me. The real adoration to me, or real homage to me, is to help the world. But if you do any harm to others, you are harming me. A person who does harm to others and comes to the Buddha statue or comes to the Buddha himself and says that he is following the Buddha, Buddha does accept him as a real worshipper. The real worship of the Buddha is to help the world, to help the poor, to help the needy. When you do all these things, you perform good deeds. This is what the Lord Buddha means by doing good deeds. Then purify your heart. Everything depends on your way of thinking. If the mind, if you use the term heart, that is mind, if your mind is corrupt, you may do bad deeds, because all your deeds are led by your mind. So you have to keep your mind pure. So you have to purify your heart. You have to cleanse your mind. You have to purify it from all those weak qualities, unwholesome states of mind. As I mentioned once, just now, this anger and such weak qualities, such unwholesome qualities, you have to keep your mind away from all these things. When you analyze them, when you try to understand their bad results, their evil effects, then you can understand, you can avoid them. There is a way given by the Buddha to control your mind, to purify your heart, which is given in our scriptures under the term meditation. By practice of meditation, you can control your mind, you can purify your heart. So these 3 things, abstaining from evil deeds, wrong deeds, and performing good deeds, and trying to purify your heart. These 3 things are what we call Buddhism.
See, it's apparent that the Buddha's teachings don't deal with any God or grace of divine being. Does it then not teach at all about the origin of the universe?
Well, a doctor goes to his patient. If the patient asks him, well, I accept your treatment if you explain to me how the world came to be, does the doctor listen to him and delay his treatment? If the doctor is a sane man who knows his duty perfectly well, he doesn't listen to such foolish questions, because the knowledge of the origin of the world, whether there was an origin or not, it has no value at all in the case of his disease, the care of his disease. So, Buddha's teaching has no dealing with the origin of world and so on, because whether there is an origin, or whether there was forever there was those universe, there was this universe forever, or whether there was some first beginning. All are the same, because the knowledge of all these things has no importance. They can't do anything to cure us. Now, suppose I suffer from some disease. Whether I know the origin of the world or the nature of the universe, how they go on, all these things, what has to do with my disease? The only important thing in my case is to take some treatment. Even the astronomy, as a science, it is useful for some people to pass some examination and so on for the worldly matters. But if you expect some astronomical problem to be solved from Buddha's teachings, it is a wrong way, because Buddha didn't mean to teach you astronomy. He didn't mean to teach you geology. He didn't want to teach you geography. He didn't want to teach you history of the earth, history of the world, and so on. All these are the same. They have no value with regard to your way of life. You are curing yourself. The disease is within you. The weakness is within you. So you have to cure it yourself. The knowledge of astronomy, or the knowledge of geography, or the knowledge of history or geology, these things cannot, the knowledge of these things cannot cure your disease. The only thing that you have to know to cure yourself, what you really are. Only this knowledge of yourself is important here. So Buddha deals with only this question, to make you understand what you really are, what you have been. This is Buddhism. So the Lord Buddha doesn't deal with such questions because they were useless. A doctor, a healer, or a physician has to do his duty. If he wants to do his duty, he need not go to teach astronomy or to solve astronomical problems that arise in the hearts of these patients, so on. Then he delays his duty. So, if there is such a question within that man, within the patient, what he has to do is, after you cure yourself, after you are healed, then you have ample time to know all these things. Then go after this if you want, if it is useful. But at this time you are suffering from some disease. Take this treatment. In the same way, the Lord Buddha dealt only with the question of life, the practical side of this life, not with these theories. The knowledge of these theories delays your spiritual progress, delays your practice.
Thank you, Bhante. That's all we have time for today. Hope you'll join us for Path Followers and Others next time.